to the movie Sarah's Oil. I'm gonna put my seatbelt on so that y'all won't keep on beeping in my video. So I went to go see Sarah's Oil last night. And this movie was a true story documentary on a young, copper tone, brown skin, indigenous, aboriginal, melanated young sister from Oklahoma from the 1900s. She had land left by her ancestors. Plenty of land. I'm talking about acres and 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 acres of land. But on one plot is where they started doing the drilling at. Let's rewind back a little bit. So she was a 10, 11-year-old girl. She was very intelligent. She was very tapped in with Big Mama, Mother Earth, Planet Cat. She knew that on her land, she knew that it was oceans of oil. She could hear it. She can just put her ear to the ground and hear it. Her spirit was telling her, her soul was telling her that she was sitting on oil. She did her homework, she did her research, she knew how many points she was supposed to be negotiating to get to sell, how much to sell per acre. Like, she knew her shit. And all the adults that she dealt with knew she knew her shit. Even the parents knew. And this was a time when, you know, so-called colored people, so-called blacks, could come into certain places. And one day, her and her dad went out into town. They went to go try to find somebody that they can do a deal with, negotiate with, so they can start drilling for oil. They was looking for a partnership. A lot of these places, they wasn't welcoming him. She just happened to go into like a random bar or a little lounge, not bar, whatever. They said whites only. And she met this guy that was nice to her. He didn't see her as colored. But later on, he did see her as a lick, a money. You know what I'm saying? But they built this bond, they built this trust. Well, she built this trust in him. So when they finally came to an agreement to make a deal to go start digging, then that was their deal, you know what I'm saying? But later, a big oil company, petroleum, was trying to make a side deal with him. He needed to be her guardian in order for the deal to go through correctly. Man, there's a whole lot to this movie. Rewind back a little bit more. So when they did get this one big company, oil company, to wanted to come out there and look and dig, they came out there, they set up the rigs, they did everything. After some days or week, whatever, they said nothing was there. But they knew something was there. What they was gonna try to do was they were gonna try to finesse her out of her land. They were gonna try to unalive her. They were gonna try to get that deed, find that deed, steal that deed from her. And when they couldn't do that, that's when they tried to do a white guardian, something to make business deals go a little more smoother or whatever. You know what I'm saying? wasn't going for that shit. You know what I'm saying? She wasn't going for that shit. She wasn't going for it, but she did go for it. But things turned in her favor. Things turned back around for her to have things go her way. She did sign that paper for that guy that she trusted to be her guardian. And if the big oil company could get rid of her, then that would automatically place the deed in the land in their hand. They was out to do anything they could to get that land, if it even meant unalive her. And they went by her house a few times looking for her to try to unalive her. But it didn't work out. It didn't work out like that. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff there's a lot of other stuff that I can mention about this movie. But, you know, I'm going to leave some of that for y'all to go see. I ain't going to break everything into detail. They did have the $5 Indians in there, the so-called Indians that they want to paint the world to thinking that they is, which is the Pretendians. When in actuality that the indigenous people of America with that copper tone brown skin color, not black, because this is black, is the real Indians of the Americas. We are the Negians. They had those in there. They knew back then who the real Indian was. That's why we went through so many different classifications, being reclassified with our titles, our name: African American, Afro American, Black, Negro. You know what I'm saying? We the only ones that had to change our titles of who we are, our identity. Our real identity is goddamn is the indigenous people of America, the original Indians. You know what I'm saying? But they had to get the Mongolians and the Samoans and all them to come in to do a deal with them to agree to say that they are the Indians. They're not from here. They're not indigenous to this land. Their ancestors don't go back millions and trillions of years like us. But anyway, they gonna always paint that picture in the movie because they can control the narrative of how these movies are. You know what I'm saying? So, for those who know, they know. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be aware of the indoctrination and the programming. But, make a long story short, on the Sarah or things went her way. She made dude, the so-called white guardian dude, tap into his so-called inner self, so-called soul. I'm saying so-called for a reason. Not gonna get into that. And he felt bad about making a side deal behind her back when she put a lot of trust in. Built the bond and friendship. I mean, you know, he kept telling her he wasn't like them. But in his mind, what he thought he was trying to do was he thought he was protecting her by making a side deal. He thought he was protecting her by becoming her guardian, but at the same time, getting them extra points and extra money for plots of land and stuff, thinking that they weren't gonna come for her. But like the lawyer told him, they didn't need. They can still get you out the way by getting her out the way, regardless. So once he came to realizing that, he like, damn, like, I messed up. I put her through all, you know what I'm saying? I done did this deal for nothing, and they still gonna try to unalive her, and they still can get rid of me. They still can steal this land. So representative for the NAACP out there, a lawyer, because a lot of children was coming up unalive because they held the deed to land that was, you know, that had oil on it, under it. And they knew that Sarah was going to be next. So they came out there. And went to court, got things settled, got the judge to reverse some shit. And Sarah was able to keep her land. And then at the end, she narrated, or whoever, somebody narrated about how she ended up selling a lot of her land to John D. Rockefeller. She met John D. Rockefeller and sold everything for $36 million and all this and that. But what she should have did was she should have still became owner of the land, some type of lease. Let them lease, and then she make a certain amount of money off of each whatever how that could have been constructed, instead of just outright selling all the land, because I'm quite sure that shit is still making money to this day. To this day! If y'all know where I get that from, put it in the comment. If you know, you know. Cause I fucking forgot. But I know it came from some movie. To this day! Yeah, so that's what she should have did, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, this was a good document, a good true story of Sarah's horror. And the movie also goes in and shows you how, like Dan Calloway and his wife and many others, Top Cat, Big Cat, Top Cat, and many other people that's on YouTube that explain how our land was stolen from us, that was left here by our ancestors. We indigenous to this land. This is our rightfully owned land. But through wicked manipulation, documents and paperwork, and unalive and shit, they stole our land, unalived our ancestors, and a lot more shit to steal our land. To be truthful, they're tenants, they're renters on our land. And they're operating fraudulently on our land. Their system is set up fraudulently on our land. This whole system that we're living within, this matrix that is operating on our land, is fraudulent. They did everything they stole everything. Man, this shit get deep, man. This shit could turn into a whole nother video. But yeah, Sarah's oil, you know, should be a movie for any melanated person to go see, any copper tone, non-eat the bean to go see, and to understand, to see how manipulating these people is and how far they will go to steal our land, even if it's a child, in a way. They feel like it's a child in a way. False documents and whatever, because all they see is greed. But Sarah's oil, I'm definitely gonna get this junk 5 popcorn. Peace, I'm out, Wadu. Sure, man.